So with this particular test we've done tens of thousands of these over a couple decades, and over 95% of anyone that gets tested will have chemical imbalances in their brain. If they have a mental health issue, ADD, autism, anxiety, depression, even things like bipolar, schizophrenia, behavior, chemical addictions, it is a game-changing thing. We look at those 20 different vitamins and minerals, and we don't make like one pill for everybody. No, we use the data from the lab to tell us precisely what to do. We call it precision nutrient therapy. And when I say they work for people, it means they're covering up and masking the symptoms of whatever somebody has, because they're never fixing the underlying root cause. We went to Children's Hospital. It's not like we had any slouches, I would say. We had top neurologists and seizure experts, and they threw up their arms and they said, we have no idea. And we have no idea. We have no idea what to do. And their plan was, we're going to keep her on medicines for the next 20 years. And they were going to hope by the time she got into her mid-20s, it might subside.
Hey everybody, it's Regan here with Unreasonable Health. And as usual, we've got a phenomenal guest. Mark Isaacson is a friend of mine I met at Genius Network. And I started talking to him and I'm like, you're doing some phenomenal things on brain health. And because all of you are brain dead out, no, I'm joking. You guys are brilliant geniuses. But I want to protect your brain. Our relationship isn't as beneficial if you have dementia or Alzheimer's, and I don't think I'll do any good if my brain goes away. So I've asked Mark to come onto the podcast and share some of the unique testing that he's doing and some of the protocols he's finding, and I think you guys will find this conversation very enlightening. So Mark, welcome to Unreasonable Health.
Great. Thanks. Looking forward to talking with you, and looking forward to make sure that we can keep you and everyone have the highest level of genius, I would say, overall, long term.
Yeah, it's so important. And so one of the things you do that most people don't do is most of the time, if you say, oh, I really want to work on my brain health, you go to your conventional doctor and the doctor may say, well, tell me what's going on. You may say, well, I don't focus well. How about some Vyvanse or some Adderall? Or I feel a little bit anxious. How about some Wellbutrin? Or I feel, or a benzodiazepine, right? Or I'm feeling a little depressed. It's just like there's just treatments to mask the symptoms of brain health. But really what you've looked at are the neurotransmitters in the brain and how to maximize and optimize it. So tell us some of the things you've uncovered in your brain biohacking exploration over the last few years.
Yeah, great. Happy to help. So for over a decade now, our team has been working with a number of thought-leading medical doctors. It could even be psychiatrists. Some of those could be naturopathic docs as well. And we've been testing the brain. The doctors in conjunction with our team, testing and work with clients. And we really test 4 or 5 different biomarkers, which are 4 of those are traditional, LabCorp, like zinc and copper and whole blood histamine, things like that. And then a pyrrole test. And with doing this particular test, you can simply then get great insight on brain chemistry and brain chemistry balance. And the crazy thing is, like you're saying, the majority of almost nobody, who does traditional anything with the brain, whether it's cognitive function, whether it's addiction things, whether it's mental health, actually, they don't test the brain to understand how the brain chemistry is. So with this particular test we've done tens of thousands of these over a couple decades, and over 95% of anyone that gets tested will have chemical imbalances in their brain. And for the majority of people, if they have a mental health issue, ADD, autism, anxiety, depression, even things like bipolar, schizophrenia, behavior, chemical addictions, it is a game-changing thing for most of those people. They'll all test with chemical imbalances. And then from that test, we can simply understand which critical neurotransmitters, like the big stuff like dopamine and serotonin and GABA, are out of balance. Then there's this whole brain chemistry area called methylation, and most people are over under methylated. So with this brain chemistry test, not only can we understand what's out of balance, but one of the critical things that people do not realize is that the only building blocks that fix the brain, those raw materials, are only about 20 different vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. It's what the brain requires to get fixed and get to the root cause. So we look at those 20 different vitamins and minerals, and we don't make like one pill for everybody. No, we use the data from the lab to tell us precisely what to do. We call it precision nutrient therapy. So it's not like you're going to need all 20 different vitamins and minerals and amino acids. I mean, and we do also like a morning dose because you need certain nutrients delivered in the AM. So you might only need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but we don't know until we test because everyone's one of a kind. And the dosing actually varies for every single one of those ingredients based on the chemistry for each person. And then we actually give a unique one of the kind PM dose as well. Same process.
Right.
So there you go.
And the testing you guys are doing, these markers, I mean, some of it are you looking at neurotransmitters with the vitamins and nutrients for the brain?
Yeah. So we're 100% looking at all these key neurotransmitters and and this whole methylation process. So when we do this and we look at methylation, so the methylation process has to do with balancing of the brain chemistry, but specifically, it's almost like you get a 2-for-1 because when you balance the neurotransmitters, a ton of that is related to mental health and addictions. Methylation across the board, you get the benefit of cognitive function, but people don't really. And just so you know, I'm not the nutritionist or the doc or the pharmacist on our team. You know, I've got a team of 40 people that do all in-depth work, but I can tell you on a high level, from a high level perspective, methylation is another area that so many people do not know about and don't understand. And methylation has to do with gene expression. So if you're concerned, if you've got any kind of family history for any kind of chronic disease, you know, including cognitive function, but any kind of disease, balancing your methylation reduces the risk of really the wrong genes expressing. That's kind of one thing. That methylation balancing also is related to detoxification. It's related to reducing inflammation in the body. It's related to optimizing like cell energy and optimizing the immune system. So it's kind of you just put it in the category of like healthy aging as well. So all that's relevant. I think the other thing that everyone probably want to know, like on the pharmaceutical side, because we actually are a pharmacy as well. Yeah. So we've got pharmacists and we do dispense some of these traditional drugs for the brain. And I think the data, anyone can go to PubMed and research the data. The data is like, it's really pretty shocking and disappointing. But the data says on the mental health and brain chemistry side, about 30% of drugs work for people. And when I say they work for people, it means they're covering up and masking the symptoms of whatever somebody has because they're never fixing the underlying root cause. That's what the vitamins, minerals, amino acids are designed to do because the chemicals in prescription drugs are not building blocks. They just work in a different.
Well, and typically they're
yeah,
those drugs are going to be depleting a lot of the building blocks that you need to activate the drugs. So it's like you're
that's a great insight. No, 100%. I mean, so many of these drugs will then, to your point, 100% deplete. That's one of the unique things that I would say our team does. We understand because we have clinical nutritionists and naturopathic docs, and we got pharmacists that understand this stuff. In many cases, we are looking at this whole matrix of which prescription drugs somebody might be taking. And are there interactions with certain things like herbal things? There could be interactions, but in most cases, not every prescription drug, but the vast majority of prescription drug, unfortunately, do deplete some of these critical building blocks. And when you do this whole process right, 4 to 6 months by doing these customized nutrients, here's the gap. 30% prescription drugs, not getting the root cause. And 60% of all people have some sort of side effect on prescription drugs for the brain. Yeah. Versus you do this precision nutrient therapy in the neighborhood of 80% show really good results. There's 20% that may not, but 80% show. And sometimes it's like remarkable results where it's night and day because they've never, first time in their life, they're really getting all the support they need for the brain.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And so if you look at the biohacking side, so you guys are using precision nutrients, and then there's devices. I mean, you just came from Dave Asprey's biohacking conference, and you're fired up from that, meeting a lot of great collaborators and potential partners. But what are some of the devices you guys have found to be effective, or that you found personally?
Look. So here's what I will like generally say to anybody. Like, I would put it to you this way. Everybody knows, and you can chip in here with any of your thoughts. I'd appreciate it. But look, everyone knows that you really have, people always talk about like you have two brains. You have your digestive system, which you have to optimize to get all those right nutrients, enzymes, et cetera, delivered to your body. And people, there's so many people that are focused on digestion, but the brain is like obviously a controlling piece of the equation. So I would think if you can get those two systems right in combination. So look, in my priority, just our priority order, there's lots of things that are medicine, right? That's kind of the way that I would put it to people. But biohacking is a cool term, but I just look at biohacking and I say, it's functional, integrative, like systems biology. We've got one big body, one big system. They're all acting together. So, I mean, if you're looking for how do I accelerate and how do I fix anything, I would put it in this category of the coolest thing that we have going for us is that I've got this little word trademark called epibiogenetics. So we think those are the three sets of data that are unbelievably important too. You would call it biohacking, you just call it, getting to your optimal state. So we're now the data overall, and this is obviously a known piece of biohacking, is that we can understand for the first time, we can really understand your genes pretty well. I call it the time of convergence. We can understand your genes pretty well. We can understand your labs and biochemistry pretty well. Those are two areas that people understand. And then there's this epi, which is epigenetic, or your lifestyle data, which includes prescription drugs you're taking, but it's food you're taking in, it's your lifestyle activities, it's stress, it's water that you're drinking, it's alcohol consumption, it's passive smoke, all these bad things that can potentially be coming in your body that are causing your biochemistry to change, usually in a bad way, unfortunately, but you have a lot of control there, and the wrong genes to express. So in combo, I mean, I will just say, sure, there's cool stuff. Like I'm using a PEMF mat. I'm using a couple different things personally, and these were at the biohacking conference. But sure. PEMF mats, it's one great way. So much of it is about reducing inflammation across the body, and detoxing, right? Critical things. And PEMF mats do that. Full spectrum saunas, are a big assist in that area. Sure. So, I mean, there's a couple different things, and there's all kinds of people, I would say, doing derivatives of these things. And the other thing is, I don't know if you know too much about it, but have you heard, are you using, or do you know anyone that's using what I would just call H2, a device that we use, but I did for the first time see a device at the biohacking conference that was an oxygen hydrogen based machine. And some people are using that to consume water, but you can also do that breathing wise. Yeah. So all these things, right?
I mean, so many cool things. Yeah, we use the NanoV in our office, and so that gets rid of the misfolded proteins in the brain. And a lot of the NFL athletes are using it, UFC fighters, and you'll notice after a 20-minute session, you get off of it, and you're like, wow, my brain feels really clear right now. Right. Yeah, because it's the misfolded proteins that lead to the genetic aberrations, and that can cause more inflammation. So, and then we also use PEMF. We've got the red light therapy. These are all phenomenal things. And then we've used the Muse. We have the Vibe. But the thing I like about what you guys are doing too is getting the foundational, you called it the raw materials, I believe, looking at those things through the precision testing. What have you noticed? Like people have come in, maybe their brain just feels like a little sluggish. Tell us what type of individual would benefit from this test.
So, what's funny? I used to think until I particularly over the last 2 or 3 months, I was talking, and we were talking a little bit before the show, and
Yeah.
our team can do all kinds of work, across all kinds of different health conditions. But in our compounding lab where we customize these precision nutrient formulas, we've been doing this over a decade, and we've never really taken the lead to make sure to get the word out. So and this, I'll link this back to Genius Network, because I did a presentation a handful of months ago, particularly on this precision nutrient therapy, I had to dive deeper into understanding everything that we were doing in the realm of precision nutrient therapy. So I used to think, oh, it's only for, people that are currently impacted with stuff. But the most amazing thing is that, so look, here's things that I had a good idea about, but I mean, I got deeper insights, and I didn't, because I'm not, I've got the pharmacist and our nutritionist and all these docs working on this, but I didn't understand the depth of how critical the nutrients are, and how the nutrients really are the primary and only way. They are the only building blocks. I always thought, oh, there's, a couple other things you could do, but it is, so the power of this is, when people come in, and we do have people that could be in this whole range of ADD, autism. Autism's a little bit different, but anxiety, depression, and so forth. And these things that are affecting, close in the ballpark, we estimate close to half the population. Yeah. And a ton of these people do not even know, that they have some level of anxiety, some level of depression, some level of ADHD. It's one of those things where people are just out there coping, because they say, oh, it's this is life, and this is what happens, and they don't understand that there's simple stuff you can do. So our whole little test that we do is only with the doctors, with a couple doctors looking at nutritional support, and the test itself. The whole thing is less than $500 to do that. Yeah. Right?
Amazing.
Yeah, and the precision nutrient things are $70 or $80 a piece.
Great, and then you get your protocol that matches exactly what your brain is deficient in, because I look at healing as in a very simplified way, as you remove interferences and you build up deficiencies. And so, if there's misfolded proteins, if there's heavy metals, if you've got spirochetes from Lyme infection in the brain, mold, mycotoxins, get rid of those. Any of the beta amyloid plaques that build up, you want to remove those interferences. But man, and part of the building up deficiencies also removes interferences. Is there a detox protocol that you put your clients on?
I would say so. That's that. Look, our team certainly does some different detoxification protocols, but I couldn't talk to anyone in specific, except to say that we think a critical thing is, so first of all, we think detox is huge. Yeah. We think also the other interesting thing that we are doing, which it's all related to the body and the system. We have a pretty good understanding of being able to look at genes and understanding from a genetic perspective. I always tell this story about my daughter, Tess, who suffered a grand mal seizure out of the blue when she was 8 years old. Fast forward, she got diagnosed with epilepsy. We were putting her we were trying everything under the sun that we could. This is over a decade ago. And it wasn't until we understood the genes and that we understood detoxification pathways that we were able to test her and understand that she had compromised detoxification pathways. And, to your point, toxins that are affecting people can be all over the map, and I put molds into those categories, and plastics that might be from food packaging and home environmental stuff. And obviously foods deliver a ton of toxins to people. So there's all these different categories. So one of the more interesting categories that people do not think about at all is that foods for sure can deliver toxins to you, like pesticides and so forth. Yeah. And heavy metals and whatever it might be. And food packaging stuff as well, plastics and everything. But people don't realize at times the foods themselves are the toxins.
Yeah, sure.
So we're looking at stuff, we on our team now. So I think the big thing is in this matrix, which I think you're 100% right, what's critical is so many of these toxins are caught, whatever those big broad spectrum of toxins are causing inflammation in the body. And yet, a ton of people can't pinpoint exactly what those toxins are. So from our perspective, we're really getting close with some of the right testing to be able to pinpoint. So with my daughter, we were able to pinpoint she couldn't break down and process sulfur as one big category.
Yeah.
And she also had a problem with, listen, she also had a problem breaking down fats. I'm talking like healthy fats, like MCT oil and olive oil and fish oil. So when we understood that, so the biggest thing that was impacting her, sulfur, is superfoods, broccoli, cauliflower, it's garlic, it's turmeric, it's crazy. It's healthy, clean, organic, grass-fed eggs because they're all rich in sulfur. So that was my daughter's, as crazy as that sounds, that was her big toxin. So what do? So we sort of, but for our detox for her, but again, we customized it because we worked diligently to pull out the toxins. We gave her some nutritional support and baths and sweating kinds of stuff, to help her detox, because most people have compromised detox and you can work around that stuff. I'm sure you know that well. And then boom, 3 years, she had seizure activity. And it wasn't until we pinpointed and we were in the right place at the right time with understanding genes, detoxification, and we were able to resolve her issue. It happened like that quickly. Once we understood, we had to detox, and she couldn't, the sulfur was a massive problem for her.
And the seizures are gone now.
Gone. Like almost instantly. I do not kid you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have my daughter Zoe, when she was an infant, she was having some seizures, petite mal, and we discovered it was corn that was triggering hers.
That's like right.
Crazy. We got rid of corn and the seizures went away. Yeah.
No, 100%. And that could be GMO. That could be other toxins that are being delivered there. I mean,
even organic corn, we were using no GMOs. I mean, it was
yeah, but it could, right. But this is some of the stuff that's the mystery when we
nuances,
say 80%, 80% of the stuff we know we can fix. But like when our daughter a decade ago had seizure activity, the traditional docs, and I'm in Washington, D.C. We went to Children's Hospital. It's not like we had any slouches, I would say. We had top neurologists and seizure experts, and they like threw up their arms and they said, because, you and me and a handful of people, we know to ask the question, why? And lots of times there are root cause, things that are fixable. And 80% of the time, the data is we can fix it, But I mean, they were like, we have no idea. And we have no idea. We have no idea what to do. And their plan was we're going to keep her on medicines for like the next 20 years. And they were going to hope by the time she got into her mid-20s, it might subside.
Right. Yeah.
So we got her resolved when she was like 11 years old. And they were like, how did you do that? And then they didn't even care to look. They didn't even care to investigate when I had data and everything. They said, oh, we don't get insurance reimbursement for that. We can't tell anyone about that. I mean, I said, don't you think? Don't you think like a couple people having seizures? I'm not saying this is the answer, but I mean, we're at the point where it's just like your daughter's situation. Look, my daughter was sulfur. I had all this oxalate problem from other superfoods like nuts and spinach and all this other kind of stuff, caused me to have problems. But I mean, we're so accelerating in these areas now that I mean, all these things collectively, the work you're doing, the work I'm doing, I mean, it can be just night and day, game-changing stuff that people just unfortunately don't know the potential of what we do.
It's amazing. Well, and I think that's where testing is so critical, because there's a book by Kelly Brogan. She's a psychiatrist. It's called The Mind of Your Own. And you would love it because she actually looks at the brain after even one dose of antipsychotic drugs. It can alter your brain chemistry permanently. And so it needs, and this is where we ran Genomind is the original genetic test we ran for our clients who were on any kind of psychotropics.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
And then we helped them get on the right drug, and then we slowly got them off the drug once we got the brain fixed. We use intranasal stem cells and peptides to do it. But yours is a little more nuanced in the nutritional side, which is why I wanted you on the podcast, because I think it backfills some of those areas where it can help our clients keep better.
I mean, I love to help how we can. Look, you've got great piece of the puzzle. We think what we're doing with this precision nutrient stuff is another piece of the puzzle, and when you put all these things together, it can make a big impact. to all.
Right. But what's funny is
Yeah.
the physicians, you cured your daughter's grand mal seizures. And it's like, well, sorry, that doesn't fit in our little box. You and I are like, wait, you do this, Mark, Reagan, you do that. And we're like, we should work together so we can actually benefit humanity even more. The Western medical system is not built around that. It's very exclusive. It's like, no, it's got to be allopathic medicine or nothing.
Right, right. It's just crazy, and there's these different buckets which are super important. And I should just mention, on the traditional prescription side, based on our experience as a pharmacy, the data is pretty good. Like, you certainly have to work with the right docs and practitioners with this. But if you do like this precision nutrient therapy, 4 to 6 months, you got to be religiously doing the AM and PM dosing. You get meaningful results, 80% of the people after that period of time, and in the ballpark with the guidance of a doctor, and obviously done in the right structure.
Yeah.
About 70% of those people who are on meds can wean off meds.
Yeah. And it's, once again, I think what Mark's saying is not, hey, go get off your medications. And I'm not saying this. There's peptides or supplements out there. Get rid of sulfur. We're just saying it's very individual. And if you can actually start looking at the nuances in the body, it's no different than why does someone have hyperlipidemia or high blood pressure? It's like, there could be 10 different causes. And what medicine has done for 100 years is let's treat the symptom instead of like the 10 potentials or 1,000 potentials of what's triggering that issue in the first place. So I really appreciate the work you're doing, Mark. So just on more of a personal side, what have you noticed in your brain since you've been working on the program yourself?
Oh, I've got a laundry list of look, listen, I mean, thank God. I mean, really, I've been doing all of this stuff for a long time, but I would just say, I usually don't get my age out, but I am over 60. I will say that I am over 60, and functionally, I don't feel any different. If we're just talking about the brain, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel different generally, but I mean, just from brain function, and being able to cognitively do everything I want to do and have a high level of energy and execute on things. I mean, I would say, I'm as good. I feel like I'm as good as I've ever been from a brain functional perspective. But look, I will say this. I do very precision nutrients. Oh, the thing that I should say about this precision nutrient stuff, it is like baking a cake. We're not like giving people 25 milligrams or 5 milligrams or 10 or 100 milligrams extra of dosing. We are giving people, it's precise because all these different neurotransmitters, they need precise dosing to be right on the mark. The other thing that we're doing that I think is super important is that because we're custom making this, using the raw materials, using the best raw materials, the ones that are the most bioavailable in the exact dosing that your brain needs. We are also taking out, we're putting fillers, binders, excipients, allergens, all this stuff that you could find, even in the best of the best supplements which we sell. There's always incremental things that are needed to put in there. So we remove it all. So you're sort of getting in capsules the least amount of capsules that you would have to take, and they're always there for you in that, in that package combination or whatever. But we formulate you. So I mean, that's a huge difference in terms of compliance and really effect overall.
Oh, that's the best. And I think that's where we all need to go, because most of the time I spend getting my clients off all the supplements they're taking, because you can read all the studies and you'll be like, I need magnesium. I need more vitamin C. Oh, I should be taking fish oil. Oh, there's a study on selenium for my thyroid, and it could just go on and on. And so it overwhelms the body. So I love the approach of minimal effective dose, and then it shifts your body and removing the interferences. And that's where testing genetics and methylation is really key. Makes a huge difference, because for those of you who are like, well, I don't know, do I really need any help with my brain? Well, think about, the brain is about 3 pounds and it's a small little organ. I mean, the mass is insignificant as far as your whole body's concerned. but it requires 20% of the electrical energy in your body. I mean, it's a massive energy generating machine and energy utilizing machine. And then when you're sleeping, it's 25%. So this little thing, and if you can fix that 25%, it makes a huge difference. So Mark, I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. Anything that like as far as where people should go to learn more, and we'll provide links in the show notes. Mark provided a couple of his blog articles, which are phenomenal, that we'll share, and then we in those articles there is a link to get the test. But maybe you could just tell people where to go if they want to go right away and not click on a link.
Yeah, 100%. So you can always come to our website, which is MY Village Green, My Village Green, the color green.com. And right from that, you'll hit the homepage and you can drop down to see some of our resources and click on testing and it'll pop right up there. And if you put it on the show notes and stuff like that, we provide links, as you said, there as well. So, and we're in Bethesda, but we can help people with this testing anywhere in the country, except, I gotta always tell people, except New Jersey, New York.
New York.
Yeah,
don't
New York.
Even try there. We've tried.
Worked it all out. We can ship anywhere. We can coach. We can review. We can do everything we need to do except those two places. Unless if you're working with a doctor there, there's always workarounds. We could probably potentially find a doctor or somebody there that might be able to help if need be.
Man, that's just awesome. So if you look at books on brain health, what are kind of 3 books that you'd recommend or that you personally have read that you love?
Bill Walsh he's behind a lot of this research. He's got a book which I think, I know if I'm not sure if I'm going to get the name right, but it's it's called Nutrient Power, I think is the name of his book. Like a great overview. And I don't know that I could really. There's not crazy stuff out there. Bredesen, Dr. Bredesen has a book, the end of Alzheimer's and things like that. But so much of the stuff, I fail to want to recommend too many things because so much of it is, without naming names specifically, but so much of it is just talking about nutrients. And Regan, you mentioned this earlier on. It is about the precision nutrient. It is about testing. Because I think this is an area that I think you and I are aligned here, that you have to do testing and you have to understand what you need. And I do not think that there are great resources out there, that really talk about the power. So Bill Walsh talks about this a little bit in Nutrient Power, but there are not a lot of great resources out there that really talk about how important to get the brain right and to get it functioning right, you got to precisely get the nutrients and other particular things that it might need to optimize, and function correctly. And you can't guess because you're going to screw your brain up more. If you're thinking, I'll take these different nutrients, you could be doing your brain more harm by taking nutrients just, right off the shelf in mass dosing, because based on where your brain is out of balance based on doing this particular testing, the certain neurotransmitters, some of them don't need any of those nutrients, and then you're going to create problems by providing too much of a nutrient. Specifically, as the brain is like the biggest issue, and the brain is so important, and you want to get it right to optimize it. So there's my caution there.
Couldn't agree more. And a lot of the books are, here's some generic protocols. And so, but a book you may love is called Picasso's Brain. Because, one of the most important things about the brain is the creative expression. And so it's not related to anything you and I have been talking about, but it actually just shows like inside of Picasso's brain, the way he thinks. And then you can apply some of his principles and creativity to your own life. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, this has been fun. And Mark, by the way, if you guys get a chance to meet him in person, he is a spunky, energetic human, and somebody who radiates a lot of brightness. And so if you get a chance, hopefully, Mark, we got to get you on our Go Wellness group. I've got a group of doctors that we have an academic think tank, so I'll get you on that platform as well.
That'd be awesome.
But really appreciate you taking the time today. Any final words of wisdom or anything else we've missed?
No, my pleasure. I mean, any way I can be a resource, happy to do it. Any way I can be a resource to your team, to your network, happy to do it. And most important thing is test. Don't guess to get the prescription stuff right. That's it.
Yes. Don't play guessing games with your brain, folks.
That's exactly right. You only have one, and it's a one-of-a-kind brain. I mean, it really is. There's 8 billion people in the world, and based on your genes and your labs and all this epigenetics stuff, nobody has the same brain. And you got to treat it. You got to treat it as one of a kind, which it is.
It is. Yeah. Well, this has been awesome. Well, everybody, if you love this show, send it to your friends, family, loved ones, and leave us a 5-star review. We'd love you forever. So appreciate you, Mark, and we'll talk very soon.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.